Okay, I'm ready.
Okay, good morning. This is the February 15th, 2024 meeting of the Syracuse Board of Review. This hearing is being held via video conference call, WebEx, at the following location: Hughes State Office Building, main hearing room, first floor, 333 East Washington Street, Syracuse, New York, 13202. The time now is, here, 9:35. And this hearing is officially open. The members of the board are Gail Swistak to my right, remotely via WebEx, Andrew Garlock to my right is Jeffrey Hinderleiter, to my left is Gail Swistak. My name is C. Thomas Parsons, Chairman, and from the Department of State, we have Thomas DiTullio. We'll now hear the scheduled petitions. When you speak, please address the board and give your name, title, and legal address so that our court reporter can have all the information requested. We may have to stop from time to time to consult with our technical staff. In making comments to the board, please provide a descriptive narrative of the matters of your exhibits to enable the court reporter to enter these into the record. We have two hearings this morning. The first hearing is in the matter of Roser Development Group, petition number 2023-0552. And we have the applicant here.
Sir?
Just state your name and your address.
Absolutely. My name is Ken Rozier. My business address is 16 Harbor Lock Road in Utica, 13502.
Okay, and who's is your architect with you here today as well?
My understanding was that he was joining us.
Yes, I'm here. My name is Philip Sabara.
And your address, Mr. Esbar?
1202 Garden Road, Utica, New York, 13501.
Okay. Let's see. Do we have anybody from the city of Utica here? Anybody from the city of Utica? Okay. All right. Let's. This case we've heard back in November. The last time we heard was just getting some information relative to a certificate of occupancy. We do have a C of O that's been submitted on record. Let's see if I have that here. So the date is November 15th, 2023. Certificate of occupancy is issued to Roser Development Group, 215 Leland Ave. The certificate certifies that the land and building located at 16 Harbor Lock Road, Utica, New York, is substantially in compliance with the zoning ordinance of the city of Utica and may be used and occupied following an A2 assembly, 3,990 square feet, occupancy 125 outdoor, 64 at the lower level, and 99 at the upper level. Okay. And your variant, and what you're asking for in your variance is for adding a deck, cover the lower level exiting, and will provide more occupancy on the upper level. Do I have that? Is that correct, Mr. Sabara?
Yes, I mean, the proposal was to add the deck. What we were told by the local code enforcement officer was that would increase the occupancy load of the building and require, let me back up. The building is an existing, at least in my opinion, an existing non-conforming use. The building was used as a restaurant prior to Mr. Rozier's purchase of the property. Mr. Rozier has not changed the occupancy or use. But at this point, they're telling Mr. Rozier that the building needs to be sprinklered.
Okay,
In my opinion, I don't think the deck having its own legal exit would increase the occupancy load of the building. And that's what the local code officer is saying is triggering the requirement of a sprinkler system.
okay. Well,
I mean,
I, I, I think the question may be relative to the lower area, because now you have a covered area, which is part of the building, the deck extending over. And as I understand from the plans, and correct me if I'm wrong, exiting from the lower level goes out under the deck, which is going to be used for an assembly. Well, it's currently being used for an outdoor assembly. It now will be under the building, so it will be part of the assembly occupancy of the building. Is that correct?
that is correct.
So, and since the exiting comes from the area, which is what, 72 occupants, going out to an area which will have, but right now it has up to 125 if I read the C of O correctly. But that cumulative occupancy would be greater than 100.
Correct.
So we have a conforming lower level because it's separated, correct?
Correct.
And now will be with the addition of the deck, which is actually covering over the top of the lower level outdoor space, will then be part of that occupancy. So now we're creating a nonconformity without a sprinkler system.
Okay.
Excuse me?
I said, okay.
Okay.
Understood.
All right. The other question I was looking, the other item I had on my list was while looking at the drawings, it appeared that you have a travel distance of 80 feet from the far, this is of the deck area, from the far distance to the deck area to the stair. But that 80 feet doesn't count because the stair's not enclosed, doesn't count the travel distance down to the public way. So we're over 75 feet on that exit. And what I can tell from the drawings, and correct me if I'm wrong, you're proposing sliding doors between the deck and the upper level banquet space?
Those doors are existing.
Correct.
Yeah.
So they can't be, you can't use sliding doors as a legal exit.
Correct.
So your drawing, your proposal has an issue of travel distance
Okay.
on the deck. Okay. And one question, Mr. Rosa, how have you been occupying the banquet area upstairs? Have you been limiting the occupancy, or had you been limiting the occupancy to 100?
We have been limiting the occupancy to 99.
To 99? Okay, sorry, under 100.
Yes.
To 90.
Yes.
Okay. Has it always been like that, or since you've owned it?
Well, since I owned it, yes. I don't know prior to my owning it. I think the city insisted on the 99 number because they were in a situation when I bought it where they weren't compliant when they sold it to me, and hence tried to find a way for us to be able to operate it without putting in a sprinkler system. And so they said, take the 99 or nothing, and otherwise you can't operate it.
Okay. You actually have more space in that area than that can hold up to.
Oh,
just
absolutely.
on
Absolutely.
100%.
Absolutely.
Okay.
I'm sorry, that was absolutely you.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yeah. Okay. Let me check. Mr. Garlock, do you have any questions for the applicant?
Yes, I had a question about accessibility to the new roof deck. Requirements for accessibility. Those sliding doors, you made the point, they don't meet egress requirements. They're not swing doors. are they accessible? You know, will that outdoor patio space be accessible?
Sorry, Phil, do you want to answer or do you would like me to?
Either way, it doesn't matter. I mean, obviously the plan was to leave the doors as is, and Ken, correct me if I'm wrong. But I mean, worst case scenario, those could be, at least one of those could be made accessible if necessary.
I think I agree with that.
Okay, I mostly.
I apologize for interrupting. I'm sorry. Who said I agree with that?
This is Ken Roger. I said I agree. I'm sorry.
Okay,
I'll try to
thank you.
identify myself when I speak. I'm sorry.
Okay, because yeah, your cameras are off, so I can't see who's speaking. Thank
Oh,
you.
I'm sorry. Alrighty.
And there will be, I'm just trying to, understand the connectivity between the banquet room and that upper deck balcony. So there will be people moving through those sliding doors, correct?
Through only the sliding door that is accessible that meets with codes. Hence, if it's the door that has to open up, then the only accessibility to the deck would be that door. And if we ended up replacing any other doors, it would be in the same vein. It would be putting the proper door there so they could use it. Otherwise, it would not be used on the deck. Ken Roger, I'm sorry.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
This is Jeff Hinderleiter. Just to be clear, because so it's in the record, that the sliding doors you're referring to, they're on your drawings, they're showing them to be more of kind of what we would consider like a sliding wall.
Yeah, they're
They aren't-
stackable. They're stackable, sliding doors.
Right, so there's four, it's showing there's about 8 leaves that can retract, and so the wall can retract.
Correct.
So you're saying that you're not going to use those in that way?
No, I'm sorry. This is Ken Roger. Yes, I'm saying that those doors will not be open to the deck if they do not comply with codes. We will either add the door to make it comply, or depending on expense of doing it all, we may add them all to make them all comply.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
What's not clear in your plan, Mr. Spara, is when you come out under the deck, this is the lower level,
Yep.
is it open does it go open, does it open out to a parking lot or a public way or sidewalk? Where does it?
All three
Where do people
sides
go?
would be open to a sidewalk patio area that fronts the water.
Okay,
So yeah, that would be open on all three sides, with plenty of space around there.
okay.
How do they get to the public way from there?
There are stairs on the side of the building, as well as paved area that goes up to the road. That I think that would be to the west. And the stair is on the east side.
A handicapped person would be able to go up that paved area?
Yes, I would say to the west side, yes. Not to the east side.
And does your building have a area of refuge in that banquet area?
We are not located, we don't have one there, no.
On the upper level, sorry, I'm following up your question. So the upper level, there's a door to the south. Where does that exit out to?
So the building, there's a significant change of grade from north to south. And so you would enter the building at the upper level on the south side. So those double doors,
Yes,
behind the elevator. Those would be the main doors from the parking lot, actually.
so the parking lot is south of the building,
Correct.
okay. And people get to the north side by coming down the stairs on I guess it'd be the east side?
Yeah, there's a stair alongside, the outside of the building there that comes down.
Right. And the exit to the east. Sure, don't get turned around here. So the exit that goes out to the east on the upper level, does that go at grade level back to the parking lot as well, or is there a set of stairs off that?
There's not an exit to the east on the upper level. There's an exit to the west. And there's a paved patio area there that also would lead to the parking lot.
Okay, is that a grade, that patio, is that a grade?
Yes, it is.
Okay. Because your pictures nor the,
Yeah, there's a retaining wall along the west that runs out along the west side.
yeah, okay.
And that's where the change of grade is. And then there's paved way that comes down to the patio area.
Okay.
This is Jeff Hinderleiter, do you have a site plan? And some sort of existing site plan that is able to be shared, to be added to the record?
I can get you one. I may have the original site plan from when the building was constructed. Check my files.
This is Tom DiTulio, Michelle. Board members, that was originally submitted to you in November, the original plans, and that had a preliminary site plan with it at the time of construction.
Okay,
They noted some, but not all the aspects that are there now.
okay.
So is it complete?
Okay.
If I remember at that meeting, that was a hard copy. I'm not sure if it made it through the electronic. I don't see it in my package from last time.
Yeah, it was a hard copy.
Okay.
I can send you the electronic copy.
That would be helpful if you could send that to Mr. DiTulio. He can
Certainly.
distribute it to us electronically.
Yep, will do.
So the C of O says your current outdoor occupant load is 125, correct?
I think that was just the number that the city, they had some kind of random numbers that they came up with. And I know when Ken and I first engaged on the project, some of the numbers that they came up with just didn't make sense based on, the square footages. So I don't know if they were expanding beyond the area of the outdoor patio onto the other paved areas for that occupancy load, but I was basing ours based on the area of that would be covered.
Okay, and the architect's plan shows 82. That's the upper, the lower level 97.
Correct.
And as part of this request, are you requesting, I mean, there's the issue of the deck, but your plan also shows that the upper area inside, are you requesting to double that occupancy roughly to 181?
Ken, I would default to you on that. I mean, I've just, when I spoke with Mr. DiTullio, he just asked me to provide, what's existing at this time based on area. So that's where that number comes from.
This is Ken Rozier, and my answer to that would be that if our square footage would allow us to be compliant and we can take occupancy to that level, then yes, we would like it there because it will help make the business a greater success of surviving, quite frankly.
I'm looking at publicly accessed Google Maps and at a satellite view. There's a driveway that goes down towards that lower level. Is that still there?
That is correct. Yes, it's still there.
And where do those cars go? Do they turn around, or how do you prevent cars from going across the?
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
I'm sorry, this is Ken Rozier. We have a chain link that goes across there when there are deliveries that come down there, and they simply go down the driveway to make their deliveries via a cart or whatever they do that way.
Okay.
So just for the record, this building and actually was constructed to originally be a marina, not a restaurant. So some of the features there, were from the original design.
Okay. Oops. So this is the driveway that comes down the lower level.
So he's saying they.
Well, they've got it. Yeah, they've got this whole sidewalk here. How far does the property, does it go out to the boardwalk area, or what is your boundary on?
This is Ken Rozier again. Our
Yeah.
boundary, where you see the driveway come down from the top,
Yeah,
meets Harbor Lock Road. Our property extends a short distance to the west from there. That includes the driveway and the access down to it.
okay. But I'm looking at I think it is sure I got my directions right. Looking at the north side of the building.
Yes.
And so I'm kind of trying to understand how far this deck will extend out. It won't go out to the water line?
No.
Okay,
It'll be probably at least, I will guess without being able to stand and measure, I'm going to guess at least 20 feet maybe from the water line, 30 feet perhaps.
and that's all your property? That's not,
Yes, it's all the property.
okay. And this is part of the Canal Corps?
Yes, it is. It's one of the few properties apparently that you actually acquired ownership, including the bulkhead right up to the water. So we own right up to the water's edge.
Okay. So you, okay, I understand now. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Sorry, I interrupted Gail. Do you have any other questions, Gail? Jeff, do you have any other questions?
I don't, not at the moment.
Mr. Garlock, do you have any questions?
Yeah, I just have one other question about the certificate of occupancy that was issued. Was this issued prior or previous to the proposed project? As in, are those 125 outdoor occupants existing, or are those, or was this certificate of occupancy issued, with the project and, post-project that you're proposing?
This is Ken Rozier. The current certificate of occupancy that we received was for the upstairs and the downstairs the way it currently is. We didn't get a different C of O because we approached to do the deck.
Okay. I just wanted to make sure that this wasn't issued in advance of the work and
Right.
the approval of the work. Okay, thank you.
You're very welcome.
Mr. Sabara,
Yes.
how, there's an overhang that comes out around the building on the north side. How wide is that, or not how wide is, how far off the building does that overhang go?
It's rather significant. I would say about 3 feet. I can get an exact dimension for you.
What is it? Hold on, we're just looking at it. Never, I think we have an answer to it.
I've got the drawings.
It's just scale, I'd have to scale.
Yeah, it doesn't, we don't show a dimension on it. It has scales on it.
Rozier, if I may,
Doesn't matter.
I've been there. I spend a lot of time doing some of the small work around there, and Phil is right. The overhang in the front is approximately 3 feet wide.
Measuring it right now from the original drawings, it's 4 feet.
4.
Okay. Okay, that's, yeah, it looked bigger than 3 feet.
Yeah.
And how far, the deck, how long the deck is going out for your extension? What's the distance off the building?
That is 18 feet to the center line of the columns. So 19'9" is what we were proposing. And again, that could be, that would be the outside face of everything. And again, that could be scaled one way or the other if necessary.
Okay, I'm all set with my questions. One more round, Mr. Garlock.
I'm good.
Swiss stack.
On your square footage of the building, your code summary, was that for existing? You said,
Yes, well, I've got everything listed there. So I have the existing building is 8,100. And then the patio addition would be an addition, 1,500 gross. And the patio area below. So those are not included in the existing building totals.
okay. The numbers are different on yours compared to on their certificate of occupancy. You have the actual being 23,750, and they have 39,090. 3,900.
I was just saying, the building's not that
Sorry.
big.
3,990 on the certificate of occupancy.
One more question. Mr. Roser, what would be your desired occupant load on the upper, and what would be the desired occupant load on the lower? Tell me what you're looking for. Total, not your new space, total. What do you have a restaurant. How many people do you want to serve on the upper floor banquet area? What would be an occupant load you're looking for?
All right. Thank you. This is Ken Rozier. I think my answer would be what we have asked for, what Mr. Sabara has asked for occupancy is based on square footage. And so I'm really only asking for that. I don't really have a number that I've picked to say this is what I need one way or the other. It's about just having it set up to operate the way that it can with the occupancy that it should have based on what we have square footage for. So I'm sorry, I'm not trying to be ambiguous or not answer the question, but I referred to Phil to look at the square footage. And that's, I'm assuming we're applying for what we can get at a maximum basis for there. And then we will live with decisions that are made by you folks.
I think this board's gonna have a hard time if I'm looking at this number that Ms. Swistak pointed out to me, in your code summary was 432 occupants.
Okay.
I'm not sure we're gonna get there today, not without a sprinkler system.
Okay.
So that's why I'm trying to find where the happy spot is.
I
I
see.
think I think I know where this board may go, but I'm not, I want to make sure that, find out where you're looking at, reasonably looking at.
Understood. I guess in an effort to be transparent, as I am with almost everything I do, I guess, Phil, is there an answer you can help with this, Phil?
I mean, I don't know, from a business standpoint, it's hard for me to answer that for you, but, I think obviously you want to maximize the amount of people you can serve in order to make your business as profitable as possible. So, and again, without knowing your business that closely, I don't know if I could answer that, but
I understand. I guess I'd answer it this way. I would like as many people as could comfortably be done by decision that you would make. And again, what's premising this is that we're working with folks in the state, the Canal Authority in particular, for the bicentennial coming up. And some of what's motivating this is we'd like to bring as many people to the canal and in the restaurant and to enjoy the water as possible. So I will quite frankly leave this up. I would love to have 432. If it's not if it's not tenable, then as close to that number as we can would be acceptable to us, I guess.
Because right now you're at
288.
288. Yeah, 288 is what you have a CO for, but that's counting 125 being out on the outdoor patio.
Mm-hmm.
What you're looking at is 160 in the building itself.
As a max, you mean?
Well, that's where you are today.
Right.
Yeah. What are they? 100.
Outdoor, 60.
164 is where you're at right now. Okay.
So
What's the cost? One question. What's the cost of this deck?
Ken, I'll let you answer that since you're dealing with the supplier.
absolutely. Okay. The cost of the deck is coming in around $160,000.
Okay.
I believe one of your exhibits said the sprinkler system is about 34,000.
Yes, that's correct.
Assuming you can get water.
Well, that was a point that I was going to ask Ken to make. Ken, you may want to talk about, the conversations you've had with the water authority and your plumber as far as access to water supply.
Right. That was one of the major problems with putting a sprinkler system in. Again, I'm Ken Rozier, I'm sorry. And that is that the water supply going into the building, according to the water company in Utica, will not sustain increasing the flow coming into the building. They didn't bring enough water into the building to be able to do the sprinkler system. And so right off the bat, that's the very first problem that we come across, that there isn't sufficient water to do it, even if we wanted to.
And if I'm correct, Ken, you said the nearest service would be on the other side of that was large enough to serve your sprinkler system would be on the other side of the canal. Is that correct?
Yes, that's where the water lines are that would give you accessibility to it.
So the cost of that would be in addition to the 34,000, correct?
Oh, absolutely. Yes, absolutely. That's what makes it prohibitive, quite honestly.
Do you know how, again, I would have appreciated, we had requested that at this hearing, the city of Utica would have representatives who could speak to these things. And I'm disappointed, to say the least, that they didn't see fit to even send any representatives. So I'm fine with the record showing that disappointment. Because there are adjacent properties there that are, I believe, are assembly occupancies. It looks like there's another restaurant type facility, you know, on the same, we'll call it this peninsula or island that where the river and the canal split. My question is, you're saying you have to cross the canal, but how are they all getting water? Not to mention the state has the Department of Transportation has a facility that's a large garage. I'm not sure what their sprinkler use there is. You know, I'm a municipal engineer, so with the structures that are located on here, it's hard to believe that there's not a water main already somewhere on that island, closer than having to go under a canal or under a river.
Okay, well,
I would guess there's a fire sprinkler system in at least one of those structures. So it's just, and this isn't aimed at you, Mr. Rozier. This is more aimed at the city who's not here, that it'd be nice to know where the actual water main, or if there's a hydrant out front, there's always, the hydrant is fed by a 6-inch line or even a 4-inch line by minimum by 10 state standards, then there may be closer opportunity than having to go that far. And it would have been nice to have that answer today.
well, I can fill in, this is Ken Rozier. I can fill in a couple of blanks there. If you look at the property, if you see the whole property, you see that there is another facility at the other end of the property toward a street called Leland Ave.
Mhm.
In order for water to be brought in to a sprinkler system to that building, I had to bring a 6-inch water main up from Leland Ave to that building. So the only way to get any more water, whether it's on the other side of the canal to the main, or to go down to where that 6-inch water line is to then excavate all the way from the Genesee Street end of where this other building is, all the way down to the other end of that isthmus, that island, which is where the only water accessibility would be. So it's 6 of one and half dozen of another. Either way, it's cost prohibitive to go either way. And I agree with you. There were many other things besides the way the city treated the water situation, including fire inspections that became an issue that weren't done. So we've had a lot of issues that we've had to deal with the property.
What's the closest fire hydrant to this building?
I would be less than honest if I told you I could tell you that. I don't know offhand. I'm sorry. I never had to really go looking. It's one of the few things I didn't have to look for since I bought the property.
Okay.
I suspect it's up on Genesee Street, 1,000 or 1,500 feet away or something, somewhere's in there. I know there's not one, and now that I think about it, I know that there's not one on our entire property from Genesee Street to Leland Ave. There's no fire hydrant there.
Okay. Any more questions? Okay. I think we're going to take a recess and go into deliberation. When we come out, we may have a few more questions for you, but I think we've got all the information that we can get to make a decision. All right, so we can go off the record and we'll be back in about 20 minutes or so. Okay, thank you. Took us a little longer. This is a very difficult case for us. Looking at a lot of the issues related to this. One thing that we did discover through public access to Google Earths, that there is a fire hydrant on Genesee Street about roughly 400 feet as the crow flies from the building, and that there is a water main that runs on Genesee Street that's within that 400-foot distance from the building, again, as a direct line of sight. So there was a question about water supply and distance, and based on our observations and looking at the infrastructure visible through public records, public access records, that we could see that there is a water supply close by. So that was one item we were struggled with, but we actually were able to get some answers to. I think the difficulty for the board in this case was increasing the occupancy to such a high number without a fire sprinkler system. And while we don't look at previous cases, we do have a history of cases like this dealing with older buildings that have had a change of use, and staying within some confines of what we've done in the past and what was comfortable with board members. We've had to kind of come to some some decisions that are not in a positive towards the decision, but we also hopefully we've got a part of this decision that will be positive for the applicant. So without further comment, I'll open the board for a motion.
I have a motion.
Mr. Hindelater would like to make a motion.
Make the motion that the petition pertains to a variance seeking relief for a required sprinkler system for a 2-level restaurant, approximately 8,000 square foot construction, type 2B, 1-story in height, located at 16 Harbor Lock Road, City of Utica, County of Oneida, New York State. The public notice was published in the New York State Register's November 8th, 2023 issue. The petitioner is seeking relief from 19 NYCRR Part 1227, the 2020 existing building code section 1011.2.1 fire sprinkler system, which states where a change in occupancy classification occurs, or where there is a change of occupancy within a space, where there is a different fire protection threshold requirement in Chapter 9 of the Building Code of New York State that requires an automatic fire sprinkler system to be provided based on the new occupancy in accordance with Chapter 9 of the Building Code of New York State. Such systems shall be provided throughout the area where the change of occupancy occurs. The petitioner is seeking relief for a variance to the required sprinkler system where the change of occupancy of an A2 occupancy exceeds 99 persons. Petition 19 NYCRR Part 1221, the 2020 Building Code Section 903.2.1.2, Group A2. An automatic sprinkler system shall be provided throughout stories containing Group A2 occupancies and throughout all stories from the Group A2 occupancy to and including the levels of exit discharge serving that occupancy where one of the following conditions exist. 1, the fire area exceeds 5,000 square feet. 2, the fire area has an occupant load of 100 or more. The petitioner is seeking relief for a variance of the required sprinkler system where the change of occupancy of an A2 occupancy exceeds 99 persons. Based on testimony and the documentation presented, the board makes the following findings of fact. Subject petition pertains to an existing restaurant, approximately 4,065 square feet per floor of 2 levels, totaling 8,100 square feet, with an upper and lower level, located at 16 Harbor Lock Road, City of Utica, County of Oneida, New York State. The building that is the subject of the petition is correctly classified per Part 1221, Section 602.2 as a Type 2B construction, 2 stories in height and approximately 8,100 total square feet, non-sprinklered structure. The upper level and lower level floor are separated by an existing 2-hour rated concrete floor system, creating a fire area for each floor. 3, the building subject to the petition is correctly classified per Section 303.3, Assembly Group A2, Restaurant. 4, the tabular calculated occupancy is 72 occupants in lower level with 97 occupants at the patio, 181 occupants upper level, plus an additional 82 occupants to be located on the proposed upper level deck. The lower level total occupant load is 169 persons. The total upper level occupant load 263 persons. 5. The petitioner states in the narrative that the building was converted approximately 20 years prior from a hospitality building along the New York State Barge Canal to a waterside restaurant previously known as, quote, Aqua Vino, end quote. 6. The previous restaurant was permitted with a maximum of 70 occupants on the upper level or roadside and 54 occupants for the lower level water side of the building. 7. The petitioner states in a letter from the Utica Fire Department confirms that when a building permit was applied for, an upper level deck addition that on the permit triggered the review, which stated the increased occupants on the deck exceeded the allowed 100 persons limit as noted in the New York State Building Code section 903.2.1.2. 8. Utica code enforcement has stated that the deck itself is not the concern, but the deck creates a covered space for the once open patio areas of the lower level of the restaurant. 9. The Utica Fire Department noted that following New York State existing building code sections 1011.1.1, compliance with chapter 9, and 1011.2.1 fire sprinkler system. This review adds part 1221, section 903.2.1.2, automatic sprinkler system required for occupancy. 10. The Utica Fire Department code review noted that the net area on the upper level without the proposed deck would calculate out to approximately 330 persons, lower level approximately 75 persons, less the patio occupants. Thus, the second condition is exceeded more than 100 persons. 11. The plans submitted for the proposed upper level deck addition show the deck includes an exit stair down to grade and an adjacent new attached interior exit stair to be constructed. 12. The design professional has stated in the attached documents that the existing municipal water service is an 1.5 inch water line. A new fire service line of 4 inches is required and would require the building owner to install a municipal water line, a minimum of 6 inches, and locate a minimum of 2 fire hydrants. 13. The petitioner has provided a code review for the existing building and future use. The review notes that the building is a type 2B construction structure with a 2-hour fire separation between the upper and lower levels. The deficiency is the required automatic sprinkler system. 14. The petitioner has provided an estimate for a sprinkler system, which is $36,720. This petitioner states the City of Utica Water Department has not yet provided a cost of running the 4-inch water service. 15. The petitioner requests relief based upon the fact that the municipal water supply is inadequate and the City of Utica has verified that the city does not intend to install a new water line in the street. 16. The local code official has been consulted in this matter and supports the granting of variances under Part 1205 with the condition that the city fire marshal and code enforcement department determine an acceptable occupancy level for each floor. 17. The petitioner stated the architect that provided the plans for the existing restaurant layout noted that the kitchen in the basement is separated from the dining areas by a 1-hour rated assembly with a C labeled door. 18. The City of Utica has issued a certificate of occupancy issued November 15th, 2023 with the following conditions: A2 occupancy, lower level interior occupancy of 64, outdoor dining 125, upper level occupancy 99 persons. See attachment, the attached certificate of occupancy. And 19, the board finds that a fire hydrant is within approximately 400 feet of the building according to publicly available records. In view of the above findings, testimony and documentation presented before it, the board finds that the burden of proof has not been met for the relief requested within the application for a variance to 19 NYCRR Part 1227, the 2020 existing building code section 1011.2.1 fire sprinkler system submitted by the petitioner. The burden of proof is on the petitioner to show that they are entitled to any relief and to provide the board with facts which demonstrate the burden imposed by strict compliance and with facts as to the safety and propriety of any alternative to strict compliance. Insufficient evidence has been provided to establish that granting such a variance would not substantially adversely affect provisions for health, safety, and security, and that equally safe and proper alternatives have been prescribed. In addition, in a view of the above findings, testimony, and documentation presented before it, the board finds that strict compliance with the code would entail practical difficulties, unnecessary hardships, or would otherwise be unwarranted because such would create an excessive and unreasonable economic burden and would be physically or legally impracticable. Granting of this variance will not substantially adversely affect the uniform provisions of health, safety, and security. So wherefore, it is determined that the application for a variance from 19 NYCRR Part 1221, Section 903.2.1.2 be and is hereby proposed to be granted with the following conditions. 1, that the occupancy of the upper level be set at 150 occupants. 2, that the occupancy of the lower level be set at 64 occupants. And 3, that the occupancy on the lower level outdoor space be set at 125 occupants. I so move.
So we have a motion. Do I have a second?
I second.
Okay. Poll the board. This is to deny the variance on the deck and the additional space, but to grant a variance for an increased occupant load on the upper level. So, Mr. Garlock,
Aye.
Mrs. Swistek,
Aye.
Mr. Hinderleiter,
Aye.
chair votes aye, 4 ayes, no nays, for a denial and a granting of a variance. This hearing is now concluded. Any questions for the applicants before we leave?
No, sir. Ken, Roger.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, folks.
All right, on to our next case. We're now moving on to petition number 2023-0571, Hallam ICS. This is reopening a case that we heard cited on our last hearing in December, I believe. Do we have the applicant here?
Yes, this is Eric Cassidy with Hallam ICS, the project manager for this project, and our company address is 38 Eastwood Drive, Suite 200, South Burlington, Vermont, 05403 zip code.
Okay. Is there anybody else with Hallam or with Mohawk that's would like to speak?
This is William Newberger, Neuburger, from Hallam ICS, and I have the same address as Eric Cassidy, 38 Eastwood Drive, Suite 200, South Burlington, Vermont, 05403.
Okay. All right. No, is there anybody else, or is it just you two gentlemen from Hallam?
This is Eric. This is just us two attending.
Okay. All right. So who would like to present your new submission or your revised submission?
Yes, Eric Cassidy will. So the variance board ruled on our initial application in December of 2023, and this modification request is to get a bit more clarification in that determination. We had 4 bullet points that we wanted to get further clarification on. Is it appropriate to start with a little background on the project, or is everyone kind of on the board remembering the 2023?
I think we're, let me just, Mr. Garlock, do you have any, do you need a refresher on this?
No.
Okay, my colleagues here, neither of them need. So why don't we just jump into your request?
Sure, yeah. So the determination asked for us to treat the air via a scrubber in the event that a cylinder was spilled in the storage building. In order to do that, we want to put the scrubber inside of the storage building. That way we're treating the air as it's exhausted from the space. And we'll put 2 exhaust fans outside of the storage building. And that's an N+1. So one of those fans will be redundant. One of them will be the primary.
Okay.
So the first part is asking to put that scrubber and its components inside of the storage building. In order to do that, we have to change the dimensions of the storage building. Previously, we said it was going to be 23.5 feet in width. Now we're looking at putting it 32-foot width, so a bit larger in order to get that scrubber installed in the unit. And in making the storage unit wider, we're going to be taking part of that space and putting the scrubber in there. And then now there will be some other space in the storage building that's available for storing cylinders. So our initial application requested 100 cylinders. Now that we have a little bit extra space, and we want to be able to utilize that space for the storage of an additional 20 NO cylinders. So the maximum cylinders that our storage building would have would be 120 cylinders.
Okay.
And that's kind of the evolving needs of Mohawk. They need a lot of these cylinders available. So the fourth and final component of this modification request was saying, well, if they need an identical building in the near future, we would want to follow this very exactly as we're designing it to right now. So it would be a request for an identical building for the storage of the same exact type of cylinders adjacent to where this storage building's going as well.
Okay. Couple things. Let's just clear up some facts here. One is your original variance was just to get relief on the sprinkler system. You were granted that relief.
Correct.
Okay.
It was
Second, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Sorry, thank you. So it was, yeah, the omit of the sprinklers in the NO storage building, and it was for allowing the storage of nitric oxide in the storage building outside of gas cabinets.
Yeah, but you don't need gas cabinets when you have a gas room. That's a separate building. It's an H occupancy. The thing that was driving this was the sprinkler requirement. The requirement for the scrubber, I went through the code last night. That's still it. That was in the, you have to do that no matter what. If you're going to do, whether it's cabinets or storage, you have to have some way to treat the gas because it's highly toxic. And so that was a built-in requirement, as is the backup power, as is the fire alarm system, as is in the gas detection system. So these aren't anything new. These are code driven. Correct me if I'm wrong. Am I missing something?
We are not arguing that point. This is Newberger. We are not arguing that point.
Okay. Well,
Our ask here is really to have more space than we originally asked for, because we asked for a certain size, and
yeah.
putting the scrubber indoors needs more space.
Yeah, I appreciate that. I think that's what we're trying to get down to this. I don't want to rediscuss what we granted, because what we granted was simply, you didn't have to put a sprinkler system in the building that's called for in the code for this type of highly toxic materials.
Agreed.
Okay, and also corrosive. So it was double, but the highly toxic is the most limiting factor of the hazards. Okay, and so the bigger building, I think we got that's pretty square. The other issue is we don't generally handle future buildings without knowing, saying, hey, we're going to build 2 instead of 1 today. That would be one way, but to grant a variance for something that might or might happen in the future, that's not generally what we do. If you're saying we're going to build it in the summer and today is January and we're going to build a second building, it's a different conversation. But something in the future, future is unlimited as far as time. So I don't think that's going to go anywhere for us today, unless you can provide more information on building number 2. Frankly, the state of New York Department of State may look at this variance. If you came and said we're doing the exact same thing, they may just grant it without us actually hearing it. But the one thing you should be aware of, we're coming through a code change coming up next year. So if there's things that change in the code, you may or may not need additional items in your variance if you were to build separate buildings, so, or additional. Okay? Fair? All right.
Yeah, that sounds good.
Let me put a poll. Mr. Garlick, you have any questions?
I just wanted to clarify, I think there's a little bit of discrepancy on just the size of the building, proposed building in the documentation. In the letter, in the variance determination modification request, it says the length of the building is going from 23.5 feet to 32 feet. It doesn't talk about the width of the building, but then I pull up the sketch of the building on the next page that was provided. And it shows the length of the building drawn at 30 feet. But then also indicates that the exterior dimensions are 31'6" by 13'6". So I just want to clarify more than anything what the size, the exterior dimensions of the new building are.
Yeah, good point.
Yeah, this is Eric Cassidy again. So it's appropriate to say it's not going to be any longer than 32 feet. When I spoke with the manufacturer of this building, I don't recall right now, but I asked the same question to them because there was a bit of discrepancy, and I believe 30 feet was the correct dimension that he gave me per the drawing that I issued for this this meeting here. But to say with certainty that it will be smaller than 32 feet or between 30 feet and 32 feet is appropriate.
Okay, and what about the width? So the length, you're saying it's going to be between 30 to 32 feet long. What about the width or the depth of the building?
Yeah, thank you. The depth of the building is not changing from our initial variance application.
Okay, thank you.
Not to exceed 32 feet. Yeah. Okay. Any questions? Mr. Hindelater, any questions?
No.
I think we'll find too, this is Tom DiTullio, Department of State, they'll find too in their variance determination modification request that Helm provided was item number 3. They wanted to increase from 100 cylinders to 120 cylinders.
Yep. Yeah, he said that and we picked that up.
Okay, I want to make sure it's noted in the record that we have that.
Yeah. Yep. Okay. Okay.
Conditions, Michael.
Okay. All right. All right, I think we actually may be ready to just, without going into anybody, does Mr. Garlick, do you need to go into recess to deliberate or can we?
No, I'm okay.
All right. Mr. Hindelater's drafted the revised motion. And I think we're ready to move on that. Just before we go, and anybody from the code enforcement official for this facility, are they there? Are they here? It doesn't sound like we have anybody. Okay. All right. Anything, last thing from the applicant?
No.
All right. Very good. So I'll entertain a motion for this petition.
I have a motion.
Mr. Hindelater.
The petitioner requests a decision of the hearing of the December 22nd, 2023 be reopened in case 2023-0571 and additional issues be addressed. The decision granted relief to 19 NYCR Part 1221, the 2020 Building Code of New York's section 415.4 automatic sprinkler system, and 19 NYCRR Part 1225, the 2020 Fire Code of New York, section 6004.2.2.6 gas rooms. The board finds the following findings of fact based on testimony and documentation submitted. 1, the subject petition pertains to a pre-manufactured storage building located at the Wolf Speed Mohawk Valley Fabrication Campus at 5757 Marcy SUNY Parkway, Town of Marcy, County of Oneida, New York State. 2, the subject petition pertains to an unsprinklered pre-manufactured storage building of type 2B construction, 1 story in height, proposed 13 foot 6 inches by not to exceed 32 feet in length, totaling approximately 450 square feet. 3, the subject building occupancy is correctly classified for Part 1221, Section 307.5, high hazard Group H3 and Group H4, which states that buildings and structures containing materials that readily support combustion or that pose a physical hazard shall be classified as Group H3. Such material shall include, but not be limited to, the following: oxidizing gases, which exceed allowed amounts in Table 307.12 and Section 307.6. 4, the subject building construction is properly classified per Part 1221, Section 602.2, Types 2, which states that Types 1 and 2 construction are those types of construction in which the building elements listed in Table 601 are of non-combustible materials, except as permitted in Section 603 and elsewhere in this code, and known as an unprotected non-combustible structure. 5, the petitioner states in Exhibit 1 summary that the proposed building to be only used for the storage of nitric oxide cylinders. Nitric oxide is a highly toxic gas used in the fabrication of microchips and semiconductors at the facility. The petitioner states in Exhibit 1 summary that the proposed building will have detection and alarms as required by Section 415.5. The petitioner notes that a scrubber system will be required and will be installed on the interior of the building. 7, the petitioner states in Exhibit 1 summary that the building's variance allows for up to 100 cylinders at a maximum, with some cylinders being depleted and awaiting return to the supplier. The petitioner is requesting an increase to a number of 120 cylinders. 8, the local code official has been consulted in the matter and supports the granting of the variance. In view of the above findings, testimony, documentation presented before it, the board finds that strict compliance with the code would entail a change so slight as to produce a negligible benefit consonant with the purpose of the code. The granting of this variance will not substantially adversely affect the Uniform Code's provisions for health, safety, and security. Where it is therefore determined by the applicant for a variance from 19 NYCRR Part 1221, Section 415.4 and Section 415.10.4, and 19 NYCRR Part 1225, 2020 Fire Code of New York State, Section 6004.2.2.6, B, and is hereby proposed to be granted with the following amended conditions. 1, storage shall be limited to only nitric oxide cylinders with a maximum capacity of 53 cubic feet per cylinder, as described in the application, and limited to 120 cylinders total. Signage shall be applied to the interior and exterior of the structure indicating content restrictions, including no other materials, equipment, or tools permitted to be stored. 2, the installation of appropriate gas treatment system on the exhaust ventilation system. 3, a toxic gas alarm system and fire alarm system shall be installed, reporting directly to the Emergency Control Center. And 4, emergency power provided for the alarm and ventilation systems. I so move.
A motion, a second?
I second.
We have a second. Poll the board, Mr. Garlock,
Aye.
Ms. Swistak,
Aye.
Mr. Hinderleiter,
Aye.
and chair votes aye. 4 ayes, no nays. This decision is limited to specific building and application before it, as contained within the petition, should not be interpreted to give implied approval of any general plan specifications presented in support of this application. This hearing is now concluded. Okay, we can go
Well-
off the record. Mr. Cassidy,
You're off the record.